Okay, a little more about content-aware options. In this case, I'm going to review content-aware fill first. Let me zoom in here and make a selection of these beads because I want to take them out of here. They're just a little too distracting. If I wanted to use this, for instance, for an ad of some kind, I would come in here and Shift Delete or Shift Backspace depending on what computer you're using, PC or Mac, and it should fill in those lines and does fill them in beautifully. You can also use fill and content aware that way, going down from the edit menu. Okay, so if I were going to use this with text, I would want to put it one side or the other. So I need to make my canvas bigger. I need more real estate to work with. So I'm going to copy this to a new layer. So I'm working on a layer here because this only works on layers. Crop. And I'm going to extend the canvas out to the side. So in this case, I can come in here and go to Edit, Content Aware, Scale. And as I drag this out, you'll see everything but the rock and its shadow extend and do a fairly nice job of making a beautiful big canvas, a much bigger canvas. So that's one way. It's still kind of a bit centered, but I have a whole lot more to work with. If I wanted to crop this down, I could come over here and crop like that, and I still have a lot more to work with. If I wanted to work with this side, for instance, I'm going to use the crop tool again to extend the canvas, make it that much bigger. I'm actually going to crop this side off because I don't need all of that space. And now I'm going to make a marquee selection over here of this area, and I'm going to tell it I want to do content aware scale. This time it's going to leave the rest of it alone. It's not going to move my rock. Let me undo the deselect there because you can see the lines kind of turning a little bit. This is where you might want to make a copy of that selection and come to make a new layer with that selection right there. So you can see over here in the layers panel, I have just that part of it selected. I can hold down the command or control key and just drag up like that. And that's skewing my selection without having to go to the edit and transform options. And that does a pretty nice job of filling that in. You also have the warp tool. If you want to come in here to the warp, that's right click on the PC or control click on the Mac, or you go way over here to transform and warp to edit. And this allows you to change the lines a bit too, to modify them in any way you see fit. Pretty much does a pretty nice job. So there I have a much nicer offset to this. If I come into the crop tool and come over here, then I can put my text up here. I'm going to make that bigger. Oh my gosh, and let's do a type I can actually read. That's not too bad. And correct the typo in here. You can see the leading on this is horrific. So I'm just going to come in here and do a Command T. I have to select all of that, and I have a 72-point type, but I only have a 12.36 leading set in there. So I want to come in here and at least have 72, so it's got some space in between it. Or I can make that actually bigger here, both of them, because I think it should be bigger. 140, and make this maybe 160 to give it some room. And you do not have to select the type again to recolor it. I can come in here and choose any color if I want to choose that light gray or light blue, for instance, Once I have the foreground color selected, just Option Delete or Alt Backspace to fill it. And there you have it. I would come in here and use the same type if possible as on the stone, which you can. Oh, yes, let me tell you about using that. Come in here and make a rectangular marquee selection around that. Go up to Type, Match Font. It's going to search the best it can for the font, and I'm going to click OK. Marion Bold, and then come in here and go Marion Bold right there. Maybe it's just a little too much, so I'm going to come in here and do the regular. And that's pretty close. That looks pretty nice in there. I think maybe the black works a little bit better, or a dark gray. But you get the idea. You can match your font just by doing that very easily. You can extend your canvas to give you the real estate you need to put in the design that you want to get in there. And it does not, well, it can affect this item, whatever your subject is, but if you do it carefully and everything's in good focus, it really tends to do a very nice job. So that is what I wanted to cover about content-aware scale, and just a little review on content-aware fill and using the match font, which is also kind of a content-aware thing because it's Photoshop being aware of what the content is, even though it's not in type form. It's looking at it and finding out for you what the closest font is that you can use.